Hello and happy Thursday. It's 2 o'clock on Thursday afternoon, which means that you're here once again for an iHomeschool Hangout, where the bloggers of the iHomeschool network, over 100 strong, get together each and every week on Thursday afternoons to talk about homeschooling topics as well as family management topics. You'll see us cover everything from meal planning to keeping healthy during the winter, um, exercising, mom self-care, you name it, and we'll cover it. You can join us here on Google Plus on Thursdays, 2 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Central, 12 Mountain Time, and 11 a.m. on Pacific Coast Time. You can also follow us on YouTube, where the videos will be there, broadcast there weekly. You can also follow us on, or subscribe to us on YouTube, on iTunes, as well as Stitcher for your Android users, and the Hangouts will be posted there also. When I'm not moderating the panel for IHN, you can find me at thekennedyadventures.com, where I share my favorite resources for Catholic homeschooling, management tips for a large family. I'm the soon-to-be mother of 6, as well as some fitness tips thrown in when I can get around to it. I'm pleased to welcome my panel today. We're going to be talking about homeschool co-ops, and it's a topic that we're all very excited about, so this is going to be a great one. I'll let my girls introduce themselves to you guys too. Heather, I'm going to start with you. If you'll tell us your name and where you blog, what you blog about, how we can find you.
I'm Heather Woody. I blog at blogshewrote.org, and I have 4 children. They are 15, 13, 11, and 8.
Thanks for updating me on children's ages, because that's going to actually make a difference when we talk about homeschool co-ops, because of kind of how things run between younger age kids and kids that are older like yours. Marlene?
Hey guys, I'm Marlene Griffith. I blog at adiligent.heart.com, and I'll be pulling in your comments from the event room and from YouTube.
Marlene is my production manager and right-hand girl during the Hangouts. She helps everything runs very smoothly. New to IHN and new to our panel today is Pam Barnhill. I'm hoping that Pam's tech issues are straightened out. If you'll introduce yourself, Pam.
Hi, I'm Pam Barnhill, and I blog at Everyday Snapshots at edsnapshots.com, where I write about homeschooling and family life. I have 3 kids, ages 8, 6, and 4, so just like stair steps, and we've been homeschooling since the beginning.
Welcome. I'm glad to have you here today. Renee?
Hi, I'm Renee, and I blog at greatpeaceacademy.com. I have one son. He's an advanced learner. He's 10 years old, and I feel like co-ops are pretty important when you have an only child.
Great. I'm glad to hear. We're going to hear some different comments from everybody about kind of how co-ops work for them. Sade's back with us again. Sade, tell everybody about you and what you blog about and where we can find you.
Hi everyone, I'm Sade Tagbo. I blog at sadetagbo.com. I have homeschooled since 2007. My oldest 2 have been homeschooled from the beginning. They're 11 and 12. And we have 6 other children, foster adoptive children. We have been part of a co-op, kind of off and on locally, and we've had great experiences, and there have been various reasons why we've gone in and out of the co-op, which we'll be sharing, I guess, during the Hangout. So great to be here.
Excellent. Thanks again for joining us. Shannon is relatively new to IHN. I think she's been with IHN a few months, I believe, and new to the Google Hangouts. So if you'll introduce yourself and tell people where they can find you.
Yep, my name is Shannon. I blog at middlewaymom.com. You'll find me blogging about homeschooling in high school, credit by exam, and then just tidbits of my faith and my family. I have a 14-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 9-month-old. So thanks.
All right. Great for you to be here today with us. Okie doke. Well, we're going to kick this topic off. We're going to talk about the ins and outs of homeschool co-ops. So first of all, some people that are discerning homeschooling or new to homeschooling may not even know what a co-op is. I know that I didn't when I got started. So if I can have somebody tackle just real briefly, what in the world is a co-op? Because some of our viewers and listeners may not know.
I'll jump in to describe a homeschool co-op. Basically, the word co-op, I guess, kind of covers it. It's where homeschool moms come together to pool their resources and provide classroom teaching for their children. And there are many different kinds. The one that I participated in was mom-led. So the moms themselves and dads, actually we had some dads, we would sign up to teach various classes for various ages. And so with everyone bringing in their expertise, so an IT dad would teach a computer class. I taught speech and debate because I'm a speaker. Moms who were great at math would teach a math class. Some moms would take, especially if they had little ones, would do the preschool class or the nursery for the moms who were teaching other classes. And then there are other co-ops where the parents pool money to hire a tutor or tutors to teach the children in the co-op. So hopefully that sums up kind of what it looks like. But it's more of a classroom experience for homeschool children with other homeschool families.
I think that's an excellent explanation. It's very similar to the experience that I've had here in our area. I went to sign up for a co-op, but then kind of quickly realized that it was not going to work for our family just because of my work schedule and kind of how we schedule our family day. Does anybody have experiences or a description that's a little bit different from Sade's? I want to make sure we kind of hit everything.
We belong to two different co-ops. One of them is more of an informal group where a bunch of families just kind of get together, and if we have activities, then fun, that's great, but a lot of it has been more of a support group, and then we bring curriculum together, you get to see it, that type of thing. The other one, we actually hire teachers to come in, and they're usually from like nature centers will come in and do a science class, that type of thing. We have writers come in and teach writing classes. It's more expensive than a parent-led class because you're paying kind of for that overhead that you get with a company, but I don't know, it's kind of a way so you don't have to drive to 3 different places to experience those things. You get it in that one place, that one day per week.
I like that idea too, and I'm glad that you brought up the difference in cost, because that's something that actually I don't have in my notes, but I do want to touch on it. That was excellent. We've talked about different resources in my home. You'll not see me teach at a co-op because I'm not an expert in anything. Slacker mom. But that's a great way. I'm thinking as I'm listening to you talk about how you all do it with writing and whatnot. And right, the drive time, especially if you've got multiple kids involved in multiple activities, that would be time prohibitive as well as cost prohibitive for us to run all over Kingdom Come, here to go to art over here or speech and debate over here. So I like that approach to kind of bring it all together, almost like sort of like a cottage school almost, to bring that in. But you're right, that would be more expensive. I don't know if you have the logistics, like the area, classrooms, whatever, donated to you all, or if that's the cost involved too. But you would have to consider, how much it's going to cost us to host something somewhere versus, volunteers and that sort of thing. So that's a good topic. So if you're interested, if you're thinking about it and you want to think about cost, I'm pretty sure as a whole, and I'll have you all chime in if I'm incorrect, your parent, like Shannon said, your parent-led co-ops are going to be a heck of a lot cheaper. I know that for mine, the one that I was looking into, it was going to be like $75 a semester, which is basically like a half year. Well, Bingo for 3 kids, right? Let's go. I mean, that's fine. That's $25 a piece. I can't do anything for that. So, but once again, that was going to require some of my time too. So, I like the different approaches. What about? Let's talk about. Let me talk about people that are actually teaching in a co-op or have started it. Let me go. Let me go that route. Um, we've talked about, because we'll hit parent centered, and then we'll also hit one more like Shannon's too. The parent centered co-ops in our area, like Sade has talked about, they require you to donate some sort of your time or expertise, whether it's hanging out in the nursery and just dealing with the small children that aren't old enough to go to the classes, or volunteering your expertise. I know my friend Colleen Kessler has taught some amazing science courses in co-ops that I would love to go to myself if I were closer. So talk to me about your experiences in a parent-led co-op. Like, what kind of stuff have you taught? You know, did it work well for you? Was it good? Was it a good experience? Let's just kind of go with that and share some of our experiences with our readers.
Okay, I'll start. We have a for 10 Mondays each semester for 2 hours. So it's not an all-day or a half-day affair. It's just 2 hours with a 20-minute recess in between. So we have two 50-minute classroom times, and then a transition time for teachers and kids, which is some recess. We teach mostly extracurricular classes at this co-op, and all parents are involved. So if you are going to bring your child, then you'll either be assigned a duty, which could be recess time, or you'll have to be an assistant in a class if you're not teaching. And I'm on the co-op committee, so it's a whole committee of moms that take care of organizing it and registering the kids. We have a fairly robust homeschooling community where I am, so we have about 50 families on average that participate in this co-op with about 120 kids. So the scheduling and registering is a little bit task-oriented for us. We're kind of in the middle of that right now. This semester I'm teaching a class on catapults and siege machines, and so I've targeted middle school boys, and we're just going to be building and having a lot of fun. My husband teaches every semester too, and he teaches First Lego League, so he helps recruit new team members, and then in the fall he does part of the team time, which is 7 hours a week for him, but every Monday I pick him up and take him back. So my duty during recess is actually taxi cab. I return my husband to work, so that's how we do it. And it's been a lot of fun. You know, other classes, poetry for kids. Last semester, somebody did presidential physical fitness for 2 age groups, and the kids got to earn their credits for that and their certificate. This semester, the high schoolers are going to be doing a literature class on Dracula. We have about 13 classes offered per semester, so all the age groups get to join in.
Excellent. Now, yeah, all of us are like, let's go sign up for Heather's catapult class. Awesome. Because like my kids would love to do that. You know, they're not in the age range, but they'd like to at least watch. So that's great. So it sounds like your co-op has a big age range, or was it just middle school and up? Like, whether it's stuff for little kids too?
No, it goes from babies through senior high.
Okay, I missed that because Heather's a little farther ahead on the parenting curve, so she's not dealing with toddler and preschool group at the moment. All right, thank you. All right, who else has experiences that they'll share?
I have an experience. We started our own co-op this past year with a friend of mine and myself. We got together and we decided that we wanted a co-op in our area that would be a classical co-op, because that's the style of homeschooling that we're using. And so we worked for about a year before we started. We started last November and then didn't open the co-op until this past August. So we worked a good 7 or 8 months on it before we finally got it to open. And it's a half-day affair. We have 8 families in our co-op, and we go to class from 9 to noon, and everyone takes the same course of study at the co-op. And this is something that our families are taking home and building off of at home for their curriculum. We cover history and science topics, hands-on history projects and enrichment, nature study, memory work is a large part of what we do. And so those are the kinds of things that we're doing in our co-op.
I love that idea because I'm a classical homeschooler too. When I'm not being slacker mom homeschooler, classical is the approach that we use. And you know what? I'm going to come back to that too because I know Renee has some experience with setting up a co-op, and then I think Shannon does as well, if I'm not mistaken. Because that's something I want to throw out. Look, I'm going to come back to that in just a little bit because sometimes if you don't have a co-op that works for you in your area, say time-wise, approach-wise, topic-wise, whatever, you could always get together. It doesn't have to be huge because you've got 8 families. The co-ops in my area, oh my word, they're gigantic. And because I was listening to you talk about how long it took you to plan, I can't imagine the planning that goes in because it's a one large like metro-wide group that has probably 6, 7 like regional co-ops that kind of like feed into the big main one. So yeah, that's a whole lot of planning going on. But I just want to remind people, you don't have to have a whole lot of people. You know, Pam's got 8. Say you've got 2 girlfriends that homeschool their kids. Hey, you know what? If you meet once a week, once every 2 weeks, that's a co-op. You call it a co-op. It means you're working together. You're cooperating. That's what it means. So it doesn't have to be a gigantic, elaborate affair, but make it something that works for you. Okay. Renee, you want to put your 2 cents in?
Sure. I was kind of like Pam in that I couldn't find a co-op in my area that I was willing to drive to or that was within the style of learning that I wanted for my son. So I did start my own 3 years ago. We started out, fairly small. We had, I think that first semester we had 8. And within that year, we grew to 16, and it's fluctuated every year. This is our 3rd year. We now have 10. We are an enhancement co-op, so we don't follow a specific curriculum or a specific plan. We offer enhancement classes. We meet 2 times a month for 2 hours. So every other Friday for 2 hours from 1 to 3 o'clock. The first hour we do a group class, and that class spans ages from 5 up to, I think our oldest child right now just turned 12. So that's quite an age range. So we kind of have to offer classes that anybody could do. Right now we're doing some Lego learning. In the past we have done silly slime, so we did GAC and Oobleck and that kind of thing, and it was just loads of fun. But we've also done some more serious classes, like we did Italian culture and Japanese culture, and both of those were fun. And one of the things that I really like to do with our co-op is to bring in people that we know who are experts in certain fields. So when we did Japanese culture, I was able to invite some sisters from our local congregation who grew up in Japan, and they could come in and talk to the kids about what life in Japan is like. They were able to show them the Japanese tea ceremony and the kimonos. So they were getting some hands-on experience along with what they were learning.
I love that approach, and I'm listening to you thinking this is a perfect opportunity to pour into your kids' passions. If you've got my daughter would stay at the horse barn for hours on end if I let her. So if I could arrange a co-op with other moms, that's great. You pull from your resources, just like Renee said, and that's part of the beauty of homeschooling. You can customize it to your family's needs and what you're interested in. The culture-based co-op sounds marvelous, and you could that you could go on all year with that. Take a country for a month and find some fun things to do with that. That just sounds awesome. Sade, have you taught in a co-op or helped arrange co-ops?
I have taught at a co-op. So I guess our county has, well, there are several co-ops. There are 3 that I have been a member of, not necessarily participated in, but at least paid the membership fee. So we have one really large homeschool group that has a co-op, and that co-op is called the Learning Center, but it's geared towards high schoolers. So that co-op costs quite a bit more. You pay for a class, so it could be calculus or algebra, but they're mostly high school classes: physics, chemistry, biology, high school level writing, and so it tends to cost about $100 per class per semester for those. And so I haven't participated in any of those. The one that I did join was went from babies to through high school, and I taught. I did not help. I wasn't on the committee to organize that one. We have amazing moms who run that co-op, and they really did a phenomenal job, and continue to do a phenomenal job, even though we're not a part of it anymore because of just our personal family situation. They did a phenomenal job of putting together an awesome mix of curriculum-based classes as well as enhancement classes, and it was just always I always felt my kids got a lot out of the classes. So they had writing classes. They used, so for writing, we used, I'm trying to remember what it's called, Andrew Pudewa's curriculum. Oh, what is it called? Anyway, I don't remember, but Andrew Pudewa is the author of that writing curriculum. So they would have that curriculum split out through the grades. And so there would always be one class for every grade using that, and was writing A, writing B, writing C. And so there was always like a really strong writing class. There was always a really strong science class using Apologia. So almost every Apologia book was being used in one semester or the other. But in addition to that, we would have classes like chess, we would have PE, we had music, like basic music classes. There would be literature classes. We did my kids did the Sign of the Beaver. There they did Caddy Woodlawn with a lady who had been a public school teacher at one time. I just loved the mix of classes. It just seemed like there was just a bunch of moms that were so motivated and energized and excited to teach really well. And that worked really well for us. And I taught speech and debate, like I mentioned before. I did have one experience attempting to start a co-op at my church, which, well, no, that was more of a support group. We would just hang out. But I did try to start a co-op around classical conversations, which we use as a supplement to our homeschool. The memory work is a supplement to our regular curriculum. And, I got really excited about it, and I got a couple of families together, and we were really excited about it, and we started. But I think the approach to the material for every family was different. So while I made my kids like memorize the timeline and, do all the memory work, there were some kids that would come and it'd be like, okay, what did you work on last week? And it'd be like, I don't even want to turn my iPod off to answer your question. And so it didn't work out because of just a mismatch in the goals of the families. And that's kind of something to look at. In a co-op, it's just there's so many variables: the material, the curriculum, personalities, the size, the needs of your family. There's just so many things. And I think if we try not to take it personal and just say, hey, this is why we homeschool, so that we can do things the way we want to, then you can just keep looking for what works. We have one more co-op in the area that is a core co-op. And when I say core, it's in Missouri, you have to have certain core hours for math and language arts and history, etc. So it's broken out. And so that co-op meets Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and they meet, I believe it's 9 to 3 or 9 to 4, and they get all of their core hours in. So the parents teach those core hours. They use the same curriculum for all of the children, and so you're done with what the state requires of you during those hours. I mean, it's not something I'm interested in, but many families take advantage of that, and they seem to like that.
that was an interesting take because I hadn't thought about using co-ops as part of your core curriculum basically. Because in Kentucky we're pretty lenient. It's easy to homeschool in Kentucky. Our laws aren't as stringent as some of the other ones that are nearby. So that's an idea too for folks who need to meet requirements for certain topics and subjects. You may consider a co-op for those kind of things. And then we'll get back to kind of some of the pitfalls, like you're talking about the personalities just kind of didn't the ideal goals weren't all the same with your families. We'll talk about that in just a second too. Shannon, I can't remember. I thought maybe in my notes, and then maybe I have it mixed up. Did you work on organizing a co-op?
Well, I'm part of 2 somewhat official co-ops, but then you mentioned how, you just get a couple families together, and I guess that's a co-op, so there's a third. So I've been a co-leader for a non-religious educational co-op. So that's securing the teacher contracts, that type of stuff. I haven't taught at that one, but we worked on, the contract with the church that we're renting, the contracts with the teachers. It is a nonprofit organization, all of that kind of stuff. And then there's one that started at the mosque near our area. And it started just a bunch of moms hanging out, and now we're trying to get activity. So slowly but surely, it's turning into like a real co-op more than like a mom's coffee date. And then the other one is a biology class with 2 other moms where we just get together. One mom teaches, or one mom does the lecture, another mom does the labs. And since I have the little kids, I'll grade the papers because I can kind of do that whenever. We don't have to do that all at the same time. So that's been my involvement with the co-ops in our area.
Excellent. Thanks for sharing your information there. Marlene, I'm going to stop with you for just a second. Do we have questions or comments I need to address in the event room before I kind of move on to another topic?
We have a couple comments. We had one that was in there before waiting for us. It's from Mahogany Homemaker. She says that she wanted to stop by and give her 2 cents on the subject of co-ops. One consideration with a large family, and these days it's 3 kids or more, thinking about selecting a group with activities that are not grade level based. That way everyone can do the same thing if that is what you so desire. Also with groups, you can start to feel homeschool mom peer pressure to use certain curriculum or overextend yourself in the amount of activities your family signs up for. So beware of the pressures because they're real, and practice saying no. Co-ops are a blessing, so don't get the wrong impression. I just think over my little 7 years, I've fell into these traps before personally, and want to pass on what I've learned from it to others so that they can have a pleasant, non-stressed co-op experience. The best subjects we have done in co-op thus far have been science. It is so much easier to go in on a project supply cost. And don't forget that you're doing the messy stuff outside of your home, so cleanup isn't so bad. Volcano destructions, etc. are much more fun in a group.
Well, I want to interrupt you there and kind of just go with that because she's got a great segue into something I wanted to cover. She brings up an excellent point, both pros and cons of homeschooling co-ops. The peer pressure or the drive to fill your calendar to the absolute brim, that's probably one of the big reasons that we don't do co-ops personally as a family, because I know myself and I already have a tendency to sign up for every amazing thing that I see in the local area. So if I did a co-op, that's just one more day, one more thing, one more period of time out of the house where I'm not home with my family, and that's part of the reason that we're homeschooling, is to be together, not necessarily running all over town, doing this, that, and the other. So that would be a con for us. But then she also brings up an excellent pro in science. A lot of moms I know are petrified of teaching science or think they can't teach science. So that co-ops would be a great way to get that covered. You know, if you abhor the mess in your house, okay, great. It's not your house. There's no glitter. There's no, tiny pieces of tissue paper or whatever filling your kitchen. You know, it's all there at the co-op. So that's another thing too is to consider. You know, you can use that as something that you don't feel comfortable teaching, or that your kids are interested in, but you have absolutely no interest in. So you could use a co-op for that. So let's talk about like the pros, the benefits of attending co-ops, and then, what are your cons? What are the downfalls?
Diana, I can take that. I think the biggest benefit is that big S word that everybody worries about when we go to start homeschooling, socialization. We're giving our children an opportunity to be around other children, to be around other adults. So they have a chance to get out of the house and interact with other people. So I think that is probably most people's first go-to thought when joining a co-op. But like you said, there are some pitfalls with that too. Everyone who comes to a co-op has a different idea of how it should run and how they want to participate. So you have to take that into consideration. Some people maybe only want to do cleanup duty, while others want to be with the babies, while others want to be teaching a class. Then again, you may have some who do not want to do anything, and you have to consider how are we going to handle that? Are they allowed to participate if they're not willing to take on a task and a responsibility, or maybe you're not the right co-op for them? Also, whenever you get a group of women together, there's usually some drama that comes along with that. Like Mahogany said, sometimes there's peer pressure and, this works in our homeschool and you should try that. Anytime we're talking about homeschooling in our own families, you have to do what is right for your own family. You can't allow other people to change how you are choosing to educate your children, because they are your children. You know them best.
Absolutely. Great comments. Anybody else want to pitch in with the pros and cons?
Yeah, one thing that we've noticed that has been hard sometimes with the co-op, like you said, I can overextend myself and be like, oh, these co-ops sound great, but then my schedule is filled every week through the entire semester, so I don't really have time to sign up for, there's this rock climbing activity, there's this horseback riding activity. Well, we're already kind of at our fill for getting out, and we should do some schoolwork, so we have to be home sometimes. So that's kind of been a con for us. But really, we've outsourced science every year since I started homeschooling, just because, I don't want to buy all the materials right now, or I can't expand upon what's in the book. I'm like, well, what did the book say? Yeah, that's how clouds are formed. That's just not knowledge that I carry around with me. So, it kind of goes both ways. And I've just learned we need to have like one co-op, even though I just said that we're in 3. So next year, we'll have one co-op that we do, and, that way we can take part in more of the spontaneous activities throughout the year.
Sounds like Shannon and I are on the same page. We like to shove our calendars as full as they will go. Anybody else?
When we were setting up our schedule for our co-op, one of the things we actually did was say, okay, what things do we not want to teach at home? And we put all of those things on co-op day. And so the hands-on history projects that we really wanted our kids to have the opportunity to do, but we didn't want to deal with the mess. And honestly, it's more cost-effective a lot of times to set up those kinds of projects for a large group of people. And I don't know about you, but sometimes I would work really hard to set something up for my kids, and I would get like, oh yeah, we're done in 5 minutes. Great, Mom, that's wonderful. There's a lot bigger opportunity for my hard work to be appreciated with a group of 20 kids as opposed to just my 2 older ones. And I also, I only have to do it 4 times a year now, as opposed to every other week. My kids get history projects every other week, and I only have to do it 4 times a year. So those are some of the pros for us in doing this kind of thing. The nature study never got done at my house. Handicrafts never got done at my house. But now my kids are getting them every other week because they're getting done in the co-op.
That's awesome. I forgot about like it's outsourcing or lightening your load a little bit even. Like you said, you don't have to do it every single week. And I had to laugh when you said it's nice to be appreciated for all the hard work that you did. It's kind of how I feel about cooking dinner for my kids because they don't like what I cook. So yeah, maybe I should teach a cooking class co-op. Then somebody would appreciate what I'm doing. Oh my gosh, thank you. Heather, what about you or Sade? Y'all have anything to add in?
Sure. I was going to say a couple of things. First is that our co-op is pretty low-key. It's a large group now, but it's just a couple of hours. So, you really got to consider what you're in for. I agree with other people. And for us, that's pretty much our activity that's out for the week is those 2 hours on Monday afternoon. And so, that's time we'll all put in together. I like the opportunity for my kids to have the perspective of an adult besides my husband and I, and that's been some really terrific people that work with the kids. Usually just a mom with an idea. One semester, mom taught double Dutch jump roping because her kids had said, I want to learn how to do that, and so it was a semester of jump rope, and they did a really fantastic job on the evening that we all come together and kind of share what the kids have done. It's like displays and some performances, and they performed their jump rope routines, and they were terrific, and it was just nothing but a mom and a book. She said, I'll figure this out, and we'll have this class, and it was a lot of fun. The other thing I'd say is that homeschoolers by nature are very independent-oriented people, and that they always want it the way they want it. So that always that can be when you bring in a bunch of people together. You have a common goal, but obviously we all homeschool. We do something the way we like it. That there's going to be some conflict in there somewhere. You have to remember that when you're coming together.
I love that idea because I'm sitting here as a sort of anti-co-op person because it doesn't work for me perfectly, right? So I'm sitting here listening to all you girls. I'm going, guess what, Miss Kennedy? You're going to have to just start your own little co-op, and if you want it the way that you want it. But if I do that, it will be very, very small. Because for me, this logistically, it doesn't work out. My local Catholic homeschooling group has activities a few times a month, and they're at 8 a.m. Yes, I am a day shift girl. Like my regular day job as a nurse begins at 7 a.m., but to get how many? Four small children, 4 small children plus mom, breakfast fed out the door across town by 8 a.m. I mean, we'd have to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. So that's just not going to work for me. So I love that Heather brought up that, yes, we're all pretty independent, and one of the things that we want to do them. So thank you for making me feel like I'm not the only one. Sade, do you have any more pros and cons? You brought up some great ones earlier.
Yeah, I have a couple of pros. One was, and a lot of this will be based on my experience. I joined our homeschool co-op. Actually, I joined the support group that semester. We had just moved to this part of town, so we didn't know anybody, and I was a brand new homeschooler. I had homeschooled for 6 months, and then we moved to this part of St. Louis and joined the support group in the fall and joined the co-op in January. And that was really our inroad into the community, and really all of our friendships and everything since we've lived here for 7 years has just been based on the fact that we homeschool, and we met this great group of homeschoolers at that time. And I don't know what we would have done if we hadn't joined that group at that time. I mean, my daughter still does, while we don't participate in the every Friday co-op classes, we still participate in a lot of activities with the homeschoolers there. My daughter takes edits a newspaper with the other homeschool kids. My kids take martial arts because we were referred to that martial arts school by family there. I mean, the moms there have been a huge support to our family. There's just been that encouragement that has come. I don't know if I would have lasted 7 years without these ladies, cheering me on, answering my questions. Moms whose kids have now almost graduated college. They were teenagers at the time when I joined, and so they are the people that I ask questions about high school or middle school. And so I think there's a lot of encouragement and inspiration that we can get from being around other homeschool moms and being humble and willing to ask questions and willing to say, okay, I get that worked for you. I don't think it'll work for me. You don't have to feel pressure to take the recommendations, but I wouldn't say, anything. We should be independent and do things our way at home and things, but I think it's just better. We're better together. Now, we don't have to be together in class. I haven't done co-op in 2 years, but I'm still together with those moms. I can still call them up, and they call me up, and we're Facebook friends. So there's something about being part of the community that I think is just really, really awesome, and I've just had all positive experiences with that. So that's a big pro for me. I was exposed to a lot of opportunities for my kids. I didn't know this existed. I didn't know we could do that. I didn't know anything about First Lego League, So there are opportunities that you will never hear about. There are things you will never hear about unless you are out there with other homeschool moms talking about your child's gifts and talents and your problems. So I recommend doing that. Like Diana, I had a hard time with the logistics of the co-op. Our co-op is pretty flexible. You can either sign up for an every Friday class or a bi-monthly class. So some classes run every Friday and some classes only run every other Friday. And I've never done every Fridays. I've always done every other Friday, and I still couldn't keep up. There's just something about getting up to be somewhere at 9 till 1, and when we get out, I'm hungry, I'm crabby. I have to grade papers for my class. I'm up at 5 on Friday mornings because I didn't prepare. I'm like, oh yeah, that was always hard. Once I got there and was hugging everybody and saying hi, I was happy, but it was just the prep time and I guess the coming down. When you're stimulated, you're out there with talking all day, and then you come down from that. That was stressful for me. But it was a small con. The costs were kind of in between. It was always hard to write that check. I was always like, Arr! But once I did and we started, I liked that. I don't have enough cons, sorry. I would, if I could be there every Friday at the co-op and not be stressed, I would. Now we have 8 children in the home. There's no way. My children would tear up that co-op right now. We couldn't do it. But I would take the opportunity to be a part of it again if I could.
You're making me laugh because I'm sitting over here thinking, this is marvelous. Sade is secretly like me in the mornings and like coming unglued and yelling at people to grab their coats or why don't you have any shoes on? We're leaving in 2 minutes. Oh my gosh. And that's something I hadn't thought about. As far as a pro, yeah, the people that are watching the video are like, Dinah was like laughing her bottom off sitting down there in the film strip. She's cracking me up. That's a great point about a pro is that to be in touch with the things that are going on in your area. Sade, for our listeners that don't know, she's in the St. Louis metropolitan area. I'm in the Louisville metro area in Kentucky. We have so many things going on, and you're right. If I weren't I don't do co-ops, but I have my finger in the pulse of all of these, homeschool email groups, and so I stay connected kind of that way with what's going on. And another thing to throw out too, some of your local libraries may have not an official co-op per se, but I know our library has homeschool science days, homeschool writing days, whatever. So just kind of check around. I mean, if you don't, I think a co-op is a great thing to do if you need some support, kind of get your feet wet, kind of have somebody back you up kind of thing. I think it's a great idea. Let's talk about, you brought up cost and not wanting to write the check. If I could go through the panel and just get real quickly an idea of what the co-ops cost in your area, just to give folks kind of an idea And please remember, we're from all over the country, so you're going to get a wide age range here. So just give us an idea of how much a co-ops cost in your area, and just like like what does that cover? Heather, you want to start off?
Sure. So our co-op costs $17 for the family for the semester. Each, yes, 17. If they turn in their registration late, it goes up to 25, and that will be a very big deal for some families. So we're hoping they get their registration in on time. But that has materials that they buy for the class. They'll need to pay, anywhere from $2 to $5 for paper supplies or something like that. Sometimes a teacher will teach with a klutz book, for example, like a batteries book, and they'll want everybody to have that one book. So you might pay $14 for the supplies for that class. For my husband's Lego League, it's a little bit more because you're actually registering for First Lego League. Last fall, my son built a dulcimer, and that was a $90 kit. So we don't offer those really big ones all the time, but the fees for families is rather small, and all that goes to is back to the church where we meet. We give them a donation at the end of the semester, and everything else is just per class, and that's it. And we're pretty much it. There is another co-op in town. It works totally differently, and I think it's a little more expensive.
That's excellent. Do you purposely try to keep it low cost? Yes? Pam, what about in your area?
Our personal co-op was $120 per child last year for anybody who was in the preschool age class and up. And basically that covered the cost of all of our supplies for the classes, the history projects, science experiments, and those kinds of things, and a love offering to the church who's hosting us, because they don't charge us a set fee, but we are going to give them a love offering. We're there every Tuesday morning for 3 hours, and they're paying for the heat and the lights and all of that. I know there is another local co-op in town. It's also a legal cover school for the state of Alabama, and so I think it's about $275 a year for a family, but I think that includes your HSLDA and your legal covering for the state as well. And then they have classes once a week as well. So
I'm glad you brought that up, because I had mentioned the one that is here in town is $75, and part of that, I think $25 of that is your HSLDA membership. So yeah, it may cover. Kind of keep that in mind, that the cost of the co-op may cover different things like supplies, like costs or donations to the church or whomever is hosting. So yeah, just make sure. I would just make sure, if you're looking at co-op, just kind of break it down. You're like, what does this $200 get me, or $125, or am I going to be, asked to give more later on, like in Heather's case? Yeah, the class is $17, but now I'm gonna have to buy this kit, so on and so forth. So just make sure that you're looking at everything. Renee, what about you?
Well, our personal co-op is $20 a year per family, and then each individual quarter, each child pays $5 for the class for the quarter. So it depends on how many kids are in your family. For my family, that comes to about $40 a year, $45 a year. It varies in our area. I live in central Ohio, so we're right around the Columbus, Ohio area. There are up to number of co-ops in our area, and the state of Ohio is huge, and there are co-ops in every corner of the state. And the price for being a participant in those run the gamut, everything from cash on hand, $5 for this field trip or whatever, up to larger co-ops a couple $100s per child for the whole year. So it just really runs the gamut. At our co-op, the cost covers the individual $5 per quarter per child covers the cost for any materials for that particular class. And if the teacher's expenses go over that, we pull from that $20 a year fund that the families are paying into. And then we also use that money. Fortunately, the congregation where my family attends allows us to use the building for free. They don't charge us anything. And they allow us to use their copier, which is just a huge savings for us, because copying for multiple children gets pretty expensive very quickly, especially if you're printing at home or if you're going to Kinko's or wherever like that. It gets pretty expensive. So they allow us to use their copier. And I keep track of how many copies we make, and then I reimburse the church for that out of our co-op funds. And we do a couple of parties every year, and so some of that money goes towards paying for supplies for parties. And then if we have money left over, we try to plan a field trip, and we use that money towards the expenses for field trips.
All right, thank you. I just need to hear from Sade and Shannon and give me an idea of how much co-ops are in your all's area.
In our area, it's pretty similar to what everyone said. We're paying the church for. I don't know if it's a donation since I'm not on the committee, so I don't know the details, but I know we do give them something for the things that we use. Our support group, where you join the group so that you can participate in field trips or hang out at the mom's nights, things like that, is $20 a year per family. To actually take co-op classes, it's fluctuated a little bit over the years. I think it's right around $65 to $70 per family, and then there are additional fees. Little fees here and there for certain things, and then if you take a science class, then you have to pay for the lab materials or the textbooks. When at the time when I only had 2 kids, and we would sign up for 4 classes every other week, so we would be there from 9 to 1, and it was 2 classes a month. We would pay about $150 for everything. And that might include an Apologia textbook or things like that. So it was, I know I was whining about it, but it wasn't that bad. The other co-ops fluctuate. We have a classical conversations co-op in the area, and that's a lot more because that's all of your curriculum, about $300. The Hope co-op, I don't know exactly how much that is, where they do the core. I believe it's about $100 and something per child per semester, something like that. So it sounds close to what everyone else has been listing.
Excellent, thank you. Shannon, what about in your area?
Well, for the few different co-ops, one of them is really cheap. We actually have a nonprofit that sponsors our rent every week or every month. But then the other one where we actually do like real classes and it's set up like a co-op, it's a lot more expensive. Like, I don't know if you saw my face when Heather said $17. We pay $125 per year. That goes, probably about 90% of it goes to the church for the rent that we pay. The rest of it is like making copies or that type of stuff. That's per family. We pay $125 a year. And then it's each class. And the teachers are paid per child per class. And most of them are right around $10 to $12 per child per class. So somebody who's paid $10, that's $120 per semester for that one class. So when I signed my teenager up for 2 classes last year, I wrote a check, well, 3 classes total. I wrote a check for like $1,000. So $17 would be awesome if we could do that, but it's really, really far from that. But I mean, again, we're hiring professionals to come in. We'd love to have more parents sign up to teach things because they don't have that overhead of like working with a company. So it is a lot cheaper, but we're still usually paying about $8 per child per class, even to the parents. So that still adds up pretty quick. I know some parents pay $5,000-$6,000, for an entire year for like 3 or 4 of their kids. So it can be cost prohibitive, but we try to make sure that the classes are worth it.
Absolutely. I think you're getting the gist from talking to all of us. Is that, it doesn't have to be something that's terribly expensive. And then it may not be as reasonable as Heather's class either. So just kind of keep that in mind. It's something that look into things. If there's one that you would like to participate in that's a little cost prohibitive for you, I think it's well worth it, especially if it's a subject that you really want to cover, to check it out and ask, hey, if I volunteer to do XYZ, can I get a discount? I've learned the fine art of asking for homeschool discounts everywhere. So that's something to consider. Another thing, just real quickly, to find homeschool co-ops in your area, I would Google homeschool co-ops in Kentucky, or that's where I am, or in Texas and Wisconsin and Ohio. Just kind of whatever your area is, just take a look at it. Ask other homeschool moms. There's a couple of co-ops in my area. They're sort of secret that nobody knows about unless you're in the co-op. So I've kind of heard about it from other people, which is so strange. But yeah, check it out. If you're in a homeschool class, like at a gym, ask moms there. Just kind of peep around, ask around. I know my ladies on the panel will post relevant links over in the event room over on Google+. So go by and check that out. When you're on Google+, make sure that you circle all of my panel members so that you can go and check out their marvelous blogs and their marvelous resources. Circle IHN, and then you guys can join us each and every Thursday. I'm going to run through real quick and remind you all of who we talked to today. Heather Woody is at blogshewrote.org. Is that correct? She's nodding her head. Great. Marlene Griffith is at adiligent.heart.com. Pam Barnhill. Oh, Pam, I forgot your URL. Tell me real quick. Unmute yourself.
Sorry, edsnapshots.com.
Thank you. I told you, Pam's new and I didn't even know her URL. Renee Brown, you can find at Great Peace Academy. Sade Tagbo is easy at SadeTagbo.com. Shannon is at middlewaymom.com. And I am at thekennedyadventures.com. So you can join us again next Thursday, 2 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Central, noon Mountain Time, and 11 a.m. Pacific, or grab us on iTunes, on Stitcher, or on YouTube. Thanks so much, and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.